What's up?
It's Friday.
It is
Friday. It is Friday. Again, I'll repeat what I've said before. Part of the reason that I love this show is it helps remind me what day it is, because working from home every day, I sometimes forget, but I know when it's Tuesday and Friday. So that's helpful. So, Sean, first of all, welcome anybody that's out there already. I appreciate you joining us. I know we've had a few sunny days here in Erie, so people are getting out and doing a little more. That's some fresh air is always good for people. So let's talk about the thing that I always forget. So we have an email list. I'll just get this out of the way right up front. We have an email list, guys. If you're joining us, if you want to sign up for the email, we provide a bunch of resources in there. So every show we write down some resources that of topics that came up during the show. And we put those together. We send them out in an email along with links to the previous shows, kind of a look ahead into the shows that are coming up. So if you want to sign up for that, again, we're putting resources out there that we're not putting other places. So we don't send you a bunch of emails. It's one email a week. And hopefully people that are getting that are seeing some value there. So sign up for the email list. I promise it'll be worth it. And it's free. So we can't really, the bar is pretty low. Today we have with us, Steve Weiser, the executive director of the Erie Phil. And we've gotten to know Steve over the past couple months, and it has been fantastic to see, first of all, the passion that he has for what he does. I love working with people that are passionate about what they do. And Steve, just when you have conversations with him, he just exudes that passion for the organization and for the community. But on top of that, to see how his mind works from a marketing perspective, because, from us looking at that organization, looking at the Erie Phil and saying, from a marketing perspective, what can they be doing? And then talking to Steve, it's just fantastic. So I want to welcome Steve. Good morning, sir.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good.
Good. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Before Sean leaves, we always talk about our caffeine. So I don't know if you're a caffeine drinker, but I'm going back. We ran out of our fun coffee, so I'm back to my 8 o'clock coffee, which I love. And Steve, if you don't know, I basically drink half a cup of creamer and half a cup of coffee. So I pretty much have coffee flavored creamer, but that's the way I do it. So.
I'm pretty close. I have no shame in being a Marvel nerd there, but
there you go.
One of our staff members, Jen, is from New York and used to work at a coffee shop, and we have some ground coffee directly from her place up in New York. So it's
cool.
It's some kind of Brazilian fancy blend, but I'm like a third cream too. So yes, there's coffee, but it's also French vanilla flavored brown water. So
there you go. That's fun. And Sean is not a coffee drinker. He's a tea guy.
Yeah, I don't do any coffee, which most people have a hard time understanding, but that's fine. Mine. Back to chai tea this morning. Got to go with. It's just what I have, so that's typically what I'm drinking is a good tea.
Well, it is a little bit. We're in a unique position. So if it was easy to just run to the store a couple times a week and grab some coffee, when we're able to do that again, I promise we'll have more fun coffee and tea. But for now, we're stuck with what we're stuck with.
So before I leave, we have a question that absolutely needs to be addressed. Okay. And so Max wants to know who is the strongest.
I mean, it depends if you're going by what movies we've already who's been announced in the movies or who isn't out yet. I'll go with a personal favorite. I love Thor. He's my favorite. And there's a cat you'll see running around. Our little black cat's name is Thor. So nice. I'll go with Thor. I hope that's the right answer.
That's awesome.
It was an opinion question. So the good thing about opinion questions is you can't be wrong, right? So, okay. So Steve, let's dig in a little bit here. Again, we started this show really to reach the community and just get some minds together and look at how everyone is handling this uncertainty. And so for you, just first of all, if anybody doesn't know, tell them a little bit about your background and about the Erie Phil, and that'll give them context for when we start talking about what some of the the hurdles that you guys have been running into look like?
So obviously for us, the Erie Phil has been around since the early 1900s, like 1913, as an orchestra in Erie. And I had the pleasure of being a musician with the orchestra for 3 years in 2012 to 2015. So that's sort of a unique way to learn about an organization, is to literally be a part of it, to be on that stage in the trenches with the musicians, making music, getting to work with our music director. So that was my introduction to the Erie Phil, and then in 2015 I became executive director. And one of the first things we started looking at is like, okay, we're an orchestra that's 102 years old, but nobody cares anymore. Like, we're old, we got it. How do we reinvent ourselves? What do we do to really start reaching a new audience and give them a reason to want to come see us and be a part of what we do, besides the fact that we've been around for a while? That definitely needs to be a humongous feather in our cap, and we're honored that we've been part of the music sort of continuity in Erie for that long. But we had to find a way to reach new audiences, reinvigorate the programming, and be afraid to just kind of not be afraid to have fun with everything of what we do. And that's sort of that kickstarted our changeover in 2015 and has easily guided us up to this point for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So how are you, just from a high level, or if you want to go deep, that's fine as well. How are you kind of leading through this time? Because, you know, we talked a little bit before we got started, and this is a common theme with a lot of people, is the uncertainty is the problem, right? Like if we had a fixed date where you said on this date everything is going to open up, regardless of what that date was, right, you at least could put together a plan. But leading through uncertainty is one of the most difficult things. How have you been doing that, and how, you know, what kind of insights, if any, do you have for other people?
I think for us, it's sort of, we've come to terms with the idea of scenario planning. And when I'm done this, I'll be happy to never have to say those words. But we really start to game plan, figure out, okay, let's start with maybe 5 examples of what we think next season could look like. And for us, our concert season pretty much mimics a school year. So we're sort of in the same boats of universities and schools trying to figure out, if we have to do things from September to June, what does that look like? So that's the time frame. So mercifully, we have a little bit of time to do the planning. But I would say we start with maybe 4 to 5 ideas of, okay, if variable A is this, then we do path 1. If it's B, we do path 2. So we have those lined up. And then the thing that we've always talked about here is never be afraid to surround yourself with people that are just wickedly smarter than you. And that is probably the number one thing that we've learned from either being surrounded by our staff or our board. You need those people that just know more or are just experienced and really know either the business or know the community. And that can help, because you can have this incredible idea of a plan you want to do, and you kind of tell your mini focus group of board members and other people involved, and they're like, that's a stupid idea. Why would you do that? But it leads you to then sort of a hybrid of that idea that can turn into a path to go with. So for us, we want to brainstorm everything and really get as many ideas on the table. And one of the things I find ironic is I'm reading, shocker, everybody has time to read a book now, a little bit at least. I'm reading the Steve Jobs biography. And one of the biggest things he talks about is we want to invent the thing that you don't know you need yet. And a lot of what we're trying to do now with the programming and going forward, especially into the fall, is how do we sort of come up with that way to give you a concert that is so organic and so surprising that you're like, oh, well, I can't not do it that way. And that's kind of what we're working on now, is how do we give you the concert experience in the fall that is so easy and seamless that nobody's scared of it and it just works. Yeah.
That's really, I mean, these are things that I think a lot of people know they should be doing, but when the world is so busy and so rushing, you just never take the time to slow. You just don't feel like you have the time to slow down and do those things. And so I feel like a lot of these things that you're talking about, if they're working, they're things that you can implement moving forward. And we're seeing this as a theme, right? Like we're learning things about ourselves and our organizations that then we can implement 2 years from now, and they'll still be beneficial. So that's awesome.
No, it's the one thing I had said. I did some talk earlier this week, and one of the points it came out organically as we were talking. This is forcing us to be beyond innovative in what we're looking at doing. We're taking classes online. We're doing concert videos across multiple cities. we're looking at new streaming platforms and really the future of our art form, I would love to see this spark of creativity not have to exist because of a pandemic. It would be awesome to be this creative and this innovative on a Tuesday. To not have to have literally the world burning down, be like, oh, we better get creative. So that's one of the things I want to take out of this is we've been pretty creative and innovative in what we've been doing already. But this really kind of it forced us to expand our horizons. And I would love to see this sort of inspirational thinking just lead us through the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned something that I'm curious about. You mentioned that you're doing some educational programs online. What are you doing and what does that look like for you guys?
So right before the lockdown, we received a grant from PNC as part of their Grow Up Great program, which normally would see us take 8 classes into a local pre-K or preschool program. We have 2 teaching artists on staff, and they have a curriculum design that includes everything from singing, learning how to read, brain-based movement, acrobatics, sort of all of these things wrapped into these 8 really nice classes. And then our musicians are always special guests in these classes, and it always ends up with a performance. We're managing to do every single aspect of that virtually. So we're building up a website that we're sending to the teacher, sort of a couple videos at a time. And these are turning into 45-minute videos that a kid can sit down and watch, and it is entirely interactive. They're singing, there's lyrics on the screens, they read a book with you, it then goes to motion with the gym teacher that's involved. So you're learning how to move your hands and do balance activities. And then it's craft time, so you can build your own castanets at home, and then use those castanets to play along with the song that you sing. Erie Phil musicians show up, so it's really, really cool. It's sort of it's led us to the realization that we can do everything that we should do as part of our mission, and we don't need a venue to do it. It's sort of like where we came down to it is we're not the Erie Phil because of where we do what we do. We're the Erie Phil because of what we do and why we do it. Yeah. And this really hammers that home for us.
That is such a powerful statement, Steve, to know that if you truly know what your mission is, a really good mission statement does not have the title of the building where you're performing that mission, right?
No, we could do it anywhere. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're in a really unique position because you have musicians, employees, venues, donors, customers. You have everybody, all of these people that all have varied interests. How do you balance the interests of all of those people in a way that they're all kind of kept, I'll say, happy? Again, when you don't have all the answers, how are you thinking about going through that process and balancing all of those varied interests?
A lot of what we focused on is almost over communicating with our either musicians, our patrons, our donors, our subscribers, our board members, and our sort of generic overall email base. We've really borderlined on, if you had told me 4 months ago we'd be sending almost 3 emails a week to different lists, I'd be like, whoa, that's a lot of emails. And I'm sure there's somewhere that's like, yes, indeed it is. But at this point, we've really found a way to keep telling our narrative and telling our story. That we'll send an email on Monday that is our music director's playlist. He's cultivated these amazing playlists. We send out 1 a week, and it's sort of, Daniel gives you an hour's worth of music. You can sit down and listen to this perfectly cultivated, curated playlist. And then on Wednesday, we'll send out some coloring activity pages. And then on Friday, we'll send out 3 videos from our musicians and a reminder to listen to us on our QLN radio program. So it's sort of, in each of those communications, we're giving you an experience of the Erie Phil that's different, something unique you've never had before. And then we're always dropping in the message of, we know we can't be live, we know we're not in a concert hall right now, but here we are in your living room, here we are doing something to at least bring the music to you. So sort of acknowledging that, yes, we're in a bad situation, but always leading with positivity with it. Because we know we're going to get past this, and we're going to be with you every single step of the way. We definitely don't want to disappear and then just expect you to come back when it's the fall and, oh, the Erie Phil's back. It's like, no, we never left. We've modified and we look a little different, and you can see all of our houses, but we never really went anywhere.
Yeah, Yeah, I love that. We talk a lot about over communicating, and I promise I didn't tell Steve to say that. That's just how he's thinking about this. So I mean, Steve, in general, the Erie Phil is doing a great job of communicating. So I'm not surprised that you guys have upped your game even more through this. So that's awesome. The second thing is, so if I wanted to get on that email list, how do I get emails from the Erie Phil?
So we'll probably put up a Facebook post once a week that always lists some of the content we have and is a direct link. Like if you want to see this content, click here to sign up. So we do that pretty regularly. And then right in the middle of our homepage on the website is a big button that says sign up for our newsletter now. So there are it's definitely two different ways to do it, either Facebook or right on our main homepage.
Awesome. So let's talk about what the season looks like for you guys, because again, living through this uncertainty, how is the season shaping up? What do you know now, or what do you guys, you talked about the plans that are changing and all these variables. As of today, what does that game plan look like?
If I had to guess, I would say in order to sort of keep everybody as safe as possible, my guess would be that we would go with recorded and streamed performances. Maybe let's just, for easy math, for the first part of the season, maybe until a vaccine comes out or until we're sort of given the green light to have a full audience base back in the arena. I think that's sort of my gut, is I could see this being the tale of two seasons. The first half of the season that might need to be enjoyed from the comfort of your living room, and then the second half of the season, pretty much a celebration when we can get back in a huge venue with a lot of people. And again, even that can take a couple different turns depending on what happens in the next few months. We're looking at, it's an interesting situation because we're obviously not in the Warner Theater this year. So it was already a complicated year in the first place. So it's not like we necessarily have a smaller venue to go back and forth with because of the renovations that are happening to the theater. So we sort of have this huge venue and this huge season planned. And now, of all ironies, it's the season you have to worry about, well, we can't have that many people together. Right. So it's we're sort of, I don't know if we would want to do a concert in the hockey arena, but for only 250 people. I feel like that sort of leaves a lot to be desired. And even then, we want to make sure everybody is safe waiting in lines and coming in the doors and doing that. So if I guess, I would say the first part of the season, we're working on some very incredible ways to record the concerts and give you the easiest ability possible to watch the concerts online. And the good thing is, if you're busy on a Saturday night and you can't watch the concert then, you could watch it Sunday at 4 or Monday after work. You can pretty much watch that concert anytime over the course of, say, 7 days or something like that.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting. That's something new for you guys. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So Steve, one last question for you. What advice do you have for other event-focused organizations? Because we see a lot of these organizations that are just saying, well, exactly what you said that you don't want to do. Well, we can't open. We'll see you guys when we have more information. What advice would you have for these other in-person event-focused organizations?
I think find your central core, find the mission, find whatever it is that you do, and find a creative way to keep that going. There has to be some way for you to keep telling your story. For us, our mission statement, and I always joke about this, everybody's mission statement is 2 sentences, and a lot of it's normally just sort of, for lack of a better word, a bunch of crap. It's 2 sentences, a lot of gobbledygook that can be whittled down to 3 things. For us, it's enrich, entertain, educate, and that's it. So everything that we've been doing in the last 3 months goes back to one of those 3 tenets, and that's it. So any event group, any nonprofit, anybody has those same things. How can you do that? And it is simple as your executive director or one of your staff members just hopping on Facebook Live and telling a story, talking about what you're doing, as long as it sort of relates somehow to the mission and what your outcomes are to reach the community and do things like that. So I think just find ways. The only thing you shouldn't do is nothing. That's the only thing. Do anything, as long as it relates to what you do and the content is good. And even then, there's a lot of, I think, leeway given nowadays that, yes, at some point you might do a video that a cat might face bomb. Great. That shows that you're indeed a real human like the rest of us. And I love that part of it.
Yep. So I'm going to have Sean join us again because I want his insight on a few things. But one point that you touched on, Steve, that I think is brilliant and something that you guys are doing now is the idea. When I think of a Philharmonic orchestra, right? It's people that are dressed to the T. They're like, everything is very formal. But you guys are putting out these videos, or I'm not sure if you still are, but I know that you were, of musicians in their homes, right? How is that different from what you would typically think of with a Philharmonic, and what response have you guys gotten back on those?
I mean, the response has been phenomenal. We send out sort of what is clearly not a mass email, but we send out a big email to our full list, and I get more responses back from these emails than we've ever had before. From a complete generic mailing, we get responses back that were like, thank you so much, these videos are great. I shared them with my kids and my grandkids in my school virtually, because it's so amazing to see, like, yes, this cellist that you've only ever seen in a tuxedo on stage is now playing in his living room, and he's being attacked by his kids as he run around. Like that again, instantly it takes apart that difference of distance, if you will, of what would have been 12 feet between the front row and that stage, and it totally obliterates it, and then really humanizes it just to be like, you get up and go be a banker, you get up and do this. Jeff gets up and he's a cellist, and here he is showing you that he has a job, and he's playing just like you'd be doing your job. I love it. It's so much fun, and the musicians, I think, love it just as much as the audience, because they get a chance to just create music and have fun that is just on a different level than a concert.
Yeah, it's so fun and so interesting. I love it because for me, like, I listen to music, but I definitely do not understand music at the level that you do. So I can listen to it and I can enjoy it. But I think those videos where you're showing the musicians as real people, now I have a connection, not just through like, oh yeah, you're good at playing your instrument and it's enjoyable for me, to right. Like, oh, your kid messes up your videos too, right? Like it's just, you can connect on such a different level. And that's awesome that has been received well. And I think that's another good lesson for other business owners is like, yes, you don't want to get sloppy with your business, but right. Being real with your business is a completely different thing, right? And we all connect with real people. And I think I really truly believe that things like the pandemic, where everyone is being forced to be more real by doing shows out of their bedroom. Right. I think we're going to realize, I hope that we realize on the other side of this, that realness needs to continue. And you guys are doing a great job of you being an example of that. So
one of the things we had sort of seen that tipped our hand that this kind of thing would work is over the past couple of years, we had done sort of a donor thank you event for board members and sponsors and donors. And it was called Pizza with the Players. And you would just meet in the lobby of the Warner Theater, and you get to meet with the musicians before rehearsal. So they're just dressed in normal clothes. It's not on a concert day. And we just order, like, not fancy pizza. And you just get to sit at a bunch of tables and have pizza with the musicians. And of all the things we've done, both the musicians and donors have loved that. So this I definitely see as an extrapolation of that. And I think it shows that we were even getting hints that kind of stuff was already successful, and then you just now fully embrace it.
Yeah, it's so cool because I feel like, we talk a lot about building community, and it's really hard to build community when there's complete separation with musicians on a stage and people sitting in an audience. Right. And it just seems like that, when I think of community, I think of conversation, right? Like there has to be some sort of real communication conversation, and like setting up these ways that are so simple, right? I mean, you set up some tables and order some pizza, and you're deepening relationship and therefore strengthening the community. And it's easy to see that after you've done it, right? Like we can look at that and be like, oh, that's easy. Right. I think people underestimate the amount of true thought you have to put into what you're trying to do to come up with the simple idea. Right. There's plenty of people now that can look at that and say, I should order pizza and have people get together. But they had all this time to think about it and they didn't. Right. So that idea is
and the
that's
execution of it is so key that it's a simple thing, but even the simple thing has to be done in just sort of a slick and easy to understand way. And that's sort of what we learn as we do it each year. It gets a little more fine-tuned. But when it comes down to the event, we get the pizza there, we open the doors, and then as a staff, we almost just kind of stand out of the way and watch the musicians naturally sit at different tables amongst the board members and donors, and everybody just chats. And it's so cool because they'll ask stories about their kids. What do you do when you're not in Erie? They kind of just do the whole thing. It's really fun.
Yeah. So last question for you, Steve. How have you seen, you're not from Erie, right. So how have you seen the Erie community kind of rally behind or rally together in the midst of this, knowing that like generally what you want them to do is show up to a show and love it, and they can't do that? How have you seen that community kind of rallying together in support of the Phil?
I mean, for us, it's from the interactions and responses we get from online content that we've never done before. We know that if we do a concert and we do a big movie show, people are going to be excited about it. But when you go to do an online vocal masterclass with a Grammy-winning singer and singers from all across the country, you're sort of like, God, I hope anybody watches this. I hope one human being. And the first time we did it, we had like 60 or 70 people streaming it live, and then thousands of views after the fact. So that's sort of been nice, is when you put the content out, to have the sort of the people on the other end enjoying it and watching it, and then wanting more with it. One of the early things we did is we sent out coloring pages in an email, and we received an incredible email back from one of our musicians, who one of her friends had received the email but lives in Philadelphia. She had colored it and sent it back to the Erie Film musician. It'd be like, I don't know if you knew this, but your orchestra sent out these, and this totally made my day. So we eventually got a picture, sort of by a roundabout way, of somebody who had taken the time to open the email, print it, color it, be excited about it, and share it back. That's what you want to have happen. And we're seeing that all across the board, which is fun.
Yep. So, guys, I think there's a big lesson here that Steve will not ever say because he's too modest. But if you're listening to the words that he's saying, his focus, everything that's coming out of his mouth has been about how to serve other people. How do you serve the community? Are the musicians taken care of? Are the donors taken care of? And that focus is really why the Erie Phil is going to win. The concerts are great. The concerts are incredible. The online content is amazing. But the focus on serving the community, your community, is really, really the difference. So kudos to you, Steve. Keeping that focus is absolutely incredible. And if we have more businesses that can do that and focus on how do I serve my community better, as opposed to how do I squeeze one more dollar out of my customer, right, we're all going to be better off for it. So thank you for setting that example for us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. It's been we're lucky to have the staff and team that we do. We love. We're blessed every single day. It's easy.
Awesome. So if we have any questions, we'll take those. If we don't, I think we can. We'll wrap this up. Steve, again, thank you. There's so many good insights here, not just for public event venues, but for your small business. The mindset is what I care about, and you hear me talk about that a lot. But really, it's the focus and the mindset that is going to make the difference in your business, not the product that you're selling, not all of those little details that we get caught up on. So there's always takeaways here from regardless of whether the business owner that we're talking about is in the same space as you. It's mindset, guys. We got to get the mindset right. So again, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. I look forward to meeting with you in person again here real soon.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. And until then, stay safe, guys. You can again sign up for the email. We'll send out some resources here based on our conversation, ghostcreativ.com/live. And we will talk to you guys next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Have a great weekend.